Alright, this is 519 Fight Talk, and today we're going to be looking at Michael Johnson versus Darren Elkins from UFC Fight Night 124. When you first look at their records, you got Elkins at 23-5, 6 wins by KO, 5 by sub, 12 by decision, 2 losses by KO, 1 by sub, 2 by decision. So you can basically see what he's trying to do. He's looking to grind out a decision usually. He's got some good wins. Guys like Hatsuhioki, Dennis Bermudez in his last fight. I thought that'd be a tough fight for him. Dennis is a good wrestler too, and he's got better boxing, I thought. And Elkins proved me wrong in that fight. So yeah, he's beat some good guys, but he does have trouble when he gets to the top level competition. He's lost to guys like Jeremy Stevens, Charles Oliveira, Chad Mendez. And I think Michael Johnson is top level competition. So you go on to Johnson, he's 17-12. He's got 8 wins by KO, 2 by sub, 7 by decision. His losses, he has 1 by KO, 7 by sub, 4 by decision. So Johnson's the type of fighter, I think his record doesn't necessarily reflect how good of a fighter he is. So just look at his last 9 fights. In his last 9 fights, he's 5-4. But the guys he fought were Joe Lozon, Gleison Tebow, Melvin Gillard, Edson Barbosa, Beneil Dariush, Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier, Khabib, and Justin Gaethje. So he's fighting top-level competition, and if we just go through those fights for a second, Lozon, Tebow, Gillard, Barbosa, he got the wins over those guys, which is impressive in itself. Then he fought Dariush, and I went back and watched that fight, and if I was judging it, I actually gave it to Johnson, and I think most people did. So can't really count that one against him. Then you got Nate Diaz. That was a legit loss. He just got boxed up. Then Dustin Poirier, he actually did the same thing to Poirier. He boxed him up. Then Khabib, I mean, it's Khabib. He does what he does. It's what he does to everybody, so you can't really hold that against him. And then Justin Gaethje, it was just a war, and you seen Johnson was close to finishing the fight a few times with that uppercut in the first round. A couple adjustments, and he could have won that fight. So yeah, I don't think his record necessarily reflects how good of a fighter he is. So the first thing I noticed when I heard about this fight was that it's a good fight for Michael Johnson to show what kind of adjustments he's made since the Khabib fight. Nobody fights like Khabib in the UFC, but when you just break down his basic style, what he's looking to do, I think he's really similar to Darren Elkins. They're both not too worried about fighting on the feet. They want to pressure you, getting close, grind you up against the cage, pull you down, and beat you up. So yeah, I think Michael Johnson and Henry Hoof are going to be basically using the same game plan that they had going into the Khabib fight. So breaking it down, cardio, I don't think we got anything to worry about there. Johnson, they both do get tired sometimes at the end of fights, but they're both usually in wars. So even Elkins, you see, even after the first round, usually his mouth's open, he's looking exhausted. But I think he has more of an endurance type of cardio, where yeah, he'll get tired, but that guy never stops regardless. He's always fighting until the end. So I don't think you got to worry about cardio too much. When it comes to the jiu-jitsu, fighting on the ground, I don't think we're going to see too much jiu-jitsu in this fight. When they do get taken down, put on their backs, both of them are usually just looking to stand up. They don't use too much offensive jiu-jitsu. Elkins likes to get to your back and lock up the body triangle, but he's basically just trying to hold you there and keep punishing you with strikes. So yeah, jiu-jitsu shouldn't be that big of a factor. Then you get into the striking. Elkins, his basic style is wrestling. I mean, and he's not trying to hide it, so he doesn't really even use a boxing style on the feet or a Muay Thai or kickboxing. He's basically standing like a wrestler. He does keep his hands super high up to his temples. But he's somewhat rigid and kind of a herky-jerky style on his feet and with his head movement. But yeah, he does keep his hands high. And what I notice with him is, even though he is a wrestler and a grinding style, he's not so much right in your face trying to cut you off and just press you in the cage. He does stay back and he'll look to time reactive takedowns, or he's usually outside of kicking range even when he starts punching. So he'll burst in with a blitzkrieg of punches just to close the distance and then shoot in on a double. So yeah, the striking, I'd say that's probably Elkins' weakest aspect of his game. So then you go on to Michael Johnson. He's a southpaw, obviously. He stands like a wrestler boxer, I would say. He's got a wide base, but he has great footwork. He's real loose and fluid, and yeah, he cuts good angles with his feet, real loose with his punches, holds them like a boxer, holds his hands like a boxing style, and he's got good power and speed. So yeah, that's basically their styles in the striking. When it comes to the striking too, Johnson is trained under Henry Hooft, first of all, and if you go on YouTube, you can see a lot of his training footage. And if you train at a legit Dutch kickboxing school, when you spar, you're basically just putting on the pads and fighting, and you do it almost on a daily basis. So he's getting good sparring in there, even if it's maybe not the smartest way to go about it. The videos on YouTube, you see him sparring with Nicky Holtzkin and the small used to be the It's Showtime champion, Van Roosmalen. He's sparring with Robin Van Roosmalen and Nicky Holtzkins, who are top level K1 fighters, both top 5 in their weight classes, if not the best in the world. So yeah, and you watch those videos and he's going to war with them. So yeah, he's getting good striking training, and I think he's somewhat underrated in his striking. Then you go on to the wrestling. Johnson, he is a great wrestler. I think that's basically what he came into MMA as, was wrestler. He picked up the striking and the ground game from there. But in this fight, I don't think he's going to be looking to wrestle that much. I think he's obviously going to be looking to defensive wrestle, but he's not going to be on the offensive too much. So Elkins, when it comes to the wrestling, he, like I said, he's all the way in or all the way out on the feet, so he's kind of even past your kick distance, but he will blitzkrieg punches and then try to shoot on you sometimes. But when he does shoot his doubles even in the open mat, he's usually not successful taking you down in the open mat. But what he does is he waits for you to sprawl on him almost, and he just keeps driving forward until your heels hit the cage, and then he's playing his game, grinding you up against the cage. So yeah, he's all the way in, all the way out. He loves, when he does get you up to the cage, he loves the body locks, Greco-Roman style. Once he clinches his hands together, you're basically in trouble. He'll drop them down to your hips, look for the body lock takedown to pull you off from the cage and trip your leg out. Or he really likes keeping that body lock and somewhat transitioning to your back, not necessarily completely on your back, but off to one side behind your one hip. And that way he can push his hips forward and go for suplex type takedowns or drag you down to the ground. And from what I've seen, that's basically the way he likes to go about it. He likes to make you carry his weight, drag you down, and he also likes to, on what side hip he's on your back, he likes to hook that leg with his leg and drag you down that way. And that way when you're down, he already has his one hook in when you're on all fours. And he likes to stay there. He doesn't, he doesn't have to drag you all the way down. He doesn't mind letting you sit in turtle, because that's basically his game, is dragging you down to turtle, landing some punches as you're getting up. Once you get up, drag you down again, land some more punches, and it just tires you out, and that's the style of fighter he is. So the ways to win for both, Elkins would basically just be to fight his fight. I mean, a guy like him, he's a vet, and he's got his one specific style. I don't think a guy like that's going to be changing up his style at this time. And you've seen it with him. He's not concerned with really changing his game plan according to which fighter he's fighting. He goes into it with his game plan and makes his opponent's game plan around him. So yeah, for Elkins, just fight your fight. That's the only way you're going to win, really. It's the way you fight. So Johnson, I think for him to win this fight, he would have to stick and move on the outside. I think that's the main game plan. Obviously, use your reach. He's got 2 inches of reach on him. Use your superior boxing. Stay nice and loose. Footworks, cut angles. Don't let him get you even somewhat up to the cage. Just stay on that black outside line. And yeah, lateral movement, footwork, pop shot him, stick and move. Johnson does have a tendency to brawl with you if you bring it to him, and I think that's going to be the key in this fight, is just to be able to stay calm and not fall into that game of wrestling with Elkins and just brawling with him. Just stay on the outside, touch him up. Don't worry about power, just worry about touching him. And he's got a great coach in Henry Hoof, so I think they'll recognize that. And basically just lead the dance. I think a big part of this fight is going to be who pressures, basically, and who lets the other guy come to them. I think Johnson has to kind of let Elkins come to him and just dance around the outside and touch him up. I think if Johnson starts chasing him too much, because Elkins will be patient, if Johnson starts chasing him down too much and getting frustrated that he's not engaging with him as much, I think he can run into troubles with Elkins timing the reactive takedowns. So yeah, I think you just got to be patient and don't rush things for both fighters. So yeah, that's it.